Welcome back. This is part 2 of Chicago Turabian formatting. We're going to be talking about footnotes and our bibliography. So if we go ahead and go back to our volcanoes page, the next thing I do want to talk about are footnotes. Now, we have two types of notes in a paper, a footnote and an endnote. A footnote is a note that's going to appear at the end of the page. So if we wanted to further explain something on this first page, then we would actually find the footnote at the bottom of that page. Whereas an endnote would be a note at the end of the document. So if we wanted to make a note about a word or about a topic on this page, the note would be found at the very end of the paper. In our classes, we will be using footnotes. And so again, those are notes that are found at the bottom of the page. Footnotes are in 12-point font. They contain first line indents and they are double spaced. And so let's just talk about that a little bit more. So why would you use a footnote? Well, a footnote is going to explain something further, whether you are citing something that someone said, giving credit to them, or whether you're elaborating on something that someone may not know about. And so you can look at this paper and you could find something maybe that someone may not know. So a volcano eruption occurs, and then it talks about a little bit about what happens. And so maybe someone doesn't really know really what a vent is called, and we explain that here. The exact location of where they come out is called a vent. And so maybe you wanted to further elaborate that. Or we can even look in the next sentence and say a volcano usually has more than one vent. So you could even elaborate there. And so let's just say we want to take this out. So I'm going to actually highlight the exact location of where they come out. I'm going to highlight that, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I'm going to delete that whole sentence. Okay, and so now it goes into the sentence where we talk about more than one vent, but people may not know what vents are. So we want to go ahead and we want to put a footnote in there. And so a footnote first is going to appear after the period. Even if the word were volcano and we were elaborating on that, we would still put the footnote at after the period, at the end of the sentence. So I have my cursor in place, and then on my references ribbon under the footnotes group, you'll see an option for inserting a footnote. And when you click on that option, you can see that it gives you a little superscripted 1 here, and that's actually called your note reference mark. It's signaling you to say, hey, there's something more about this at the bottom of your paper. And so now if you look down here towards the bottom, you can see that it actually has that superscripted 1, and then you can go ahead and you can elaborate more there. And so I'm actually just going to go ahead and control paste what we had there. And so we'll say a vent is the exact location of where they come out. And so that's what we're saying. Maybe you're going to put more about that. Maybe you're going to put about where you found more information about that, or maybe you're going to elaborate on that point. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you have this all set up. So we're going to highlight this information, and we need to make sure that the footnote is always in the same font face and font size as the paper. So this is in Times New Roman 12-point font. Then we need to do a first line indent. So in front of A, I need to come up to my ruler, and if your ruler is not showing, you'll need to go to the View ribbon and make sure that the ruler option is checked. Mine is already showing, so therefore it's grayed out. And then on my ruler, I'll see the first line indent is the arrow at the top pointing down. I'm going to pull that out to 0.5, and it's going to give me a first line indent where it pulls that all the way out. Now, if this were 2 lines, it would be double spaced. However, this is only 1, so we can leave it as is. And that is our explanatory note, what's elaborating on the paper. So that's what we call a footnote. Notice that there's a little horizontal line separating the note reference mark from the actual paper, and then we have that indented, and we would have that double spaced if needed. So that is a note reference mark. All right, so now that we've talked about footnotes, let's go ahead and talk about your works cited or your bibliography. So in a Chicago Turabian paper, we do not call our references page our works cited page, we call it our bibliography. So at the end here, I would do a Control Enter to put that on a brand new page. And then I would go ahead and do a Control E to center my text, and this would be called bibliography. Hit enter, Control L to left align, and then you would insert your citations the same way that you did with MLA. The only difference is with these references, they're actually going to be single spaced rather than double spaced. However, they will start with the last name of the author, and they also will be in alphabetical order by those last names. And then if you have any other information, you can kind of look that up online. So maybe you're concerned about how something should be written out. You could look that up and make sure that you have that correct information. Now, that's all we're going to do with this. We're not going to be doing any more with our Volcanoes paper. So let's go ahead and save that. And then the last thing I really want to show you is a good resource that you can get your Chicago Turabian information off of. Now, this link I could provided you with in your haiku course. You can see some of the general guidelines here, remembering that margins should be 1 inch on all sides, Times New Roman, 12-point font. Talks a little bit about the title page. You can see this one doesn't have the image and how it appears. Scroll down, talks about the main body of the text, how you should do things there, and then here's the information about your references. So again, you'll see you'll label the first page bibliography or references. However, we're doing ours bibliography. That's how I've asked you to do it. You'll leave 2 blank lines in between bibliography and your first entry, and because this is double spaced, that would just be 1 enter. You'll leave 1 blank line between remaining entries. So between your entries, those will not be double spaced. You'll list entries letter by letter, alphabetical order, and you'll use the and, not the ampersand, for multiple author entries. So again, you won't use that ampersand, you'll use that and like you did in MLA format. And you can see the information here about the footnotes. The first line of the footnote is indented 0.5 from the left margin. Leave an extra line space between footnotes. So remember, those are double spaced. And then here you go. Here's some more information about those headings as well, and tables and figures that you might have. So again, remember that this is a great resource. You're not expected to memorize this information. You're not expected to be able to just know this off the top of your head. You know, you want to be able to come back and you want to be able to get this information when you need it. Now, with that said, when it does come time for you to take your quiz for the module, I will expect you to know some of this information. So because we just went through it and because I've told you what I expect of you, please make sure that you're taking notes. And those are some things that you are studying for your quiz. All right, well, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, make sure to email me. Thanks.